The Minnesota Wild podcast is presented exclusively by Acrisure. It's time for Tom Reid's Hotline. Text in your comments or questions to 64686. You could win fabulous prizes, including dinner at Tom Reid's Hockey City Pub or Wild tickets to a future game. And now, Tom Reid's Hotline.
What a finish to the middle frame. Wild down 3-1 mid-part of the second period, but in the final 7 minutes of period number 2, Freddie Gaudreau, Matt Boldy, and Yakov Trenyan, all of a sudden, the Wild lead the Islanders 4-3 after 40 minutes of hockey. Tom Reid's here for Tom Reid's Hotline. Text us 64686. You could win tickets to an upcoming Minnesota Wild home game once they return from the Four Nations tournament. What do you think, Tom? Little excitement in St. Paul.
Well, there is, Kevin. Right now there's got to be a lot of excitement in that Minnesota locker room as well, and because they have played so well. This has been a good hockey game. I mean, both sides really are competing in this game. Minnesota's had some good luck finally, which they have not had a great deal. Both these teams going through a lot of injuries, and Joe had touched about the fact that the Islanders have a lot of guys who've been hurt also and are on the sidelines right now. But this has been one of the better games I think I've seen in this building in a long time. Yeah,
and again, no Kirill Kaprizov, no Joel Eriksson Ek. If you're just tuning in, a late scratch out with a lower body injury. So the Wild went 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, and so far so good. Again, holding on to a 4-3 lead after 2 periods. Let's jump into the questions here. We'll start with this one from Curtis S. Tom. Anytime you talk about the Islanders, there's always the rumors floating around there. Maybe just because they're Minnesota boys, but they're always very good players. Yeah. Brock Nelson, Anders Lee. Boy, would either of them look good in a Minnesota Wild uni.
Well, they would, and I'm just not quite sure when their contracts are going to be up, but it sounds like it might be for at least one of them might be at the end of this season. So we'll wait and see what happens. And but I think Brock Nelson's the guy that everyone's kind of looking at. And he's be a good guy also because he's a center iceman, can win some draws. And that's where Minnesota really has faltered this year, chasing all the time because they don't win the draws, Kevin. So we'll wait and see what happens. But you know what? They've got a number of players on that Islander team who have connections to Minnesota.
Yeah, they do. Perenovich is the latest one coming over in a trade from the St. Louis Blues. But that Brock Nelson, so much fun. And maybe we pay special attention to guys like that because he's got those Minnesota ties, but what a true professional in the National Hockey League. This one from Richard in Mesa, Arizona. He's thinking that, you know what, why not move Jared Spurgeon up to forward in a game like this? He skates so well. He's so smart. What do you think about moving Spurge, the captain, up to a forward position when you're shorthanded?
Well, being a former defenseman, I think it's much better than much smarter back on the defensive position. Would you say that? Or not?
I know you would say that.
No, I think his position is right for him. He's not a big, heavy guy that a lot of times you're going to need in front of the net at the opposite end, but he plays so smart. You watch him, his stick is always in the right position. He's always in the right position. And when he goes into a corner and do a scrum of any type, usually he comes out with the puck. And we saw that right from day one. Here's a guy who's played over 900 games now for the Wild, and I never thought he'd play one game. But he proved me wrong, which is great. And I love to see it. He's not only a great player, but he's a great person off the ice and how he treats his counterparts on the ice.
Yeah, another great professional. We talk about Brock Nelson and Jared Spurgeon also right in line with that. I like this question from Sam in St. Paul. 2 of his favorite players on this Wild team are emerging as this season goes along. Yakov Trenyan and Marat Husnandinov. He says they're a couple of his favorite players and have been continuing to rise over the last few weeks. What are they doing different now compared to the first half of the season?
I think they're much more engaged than they were at the beginning, and I think both those players certainly bring something to the table. And I think when you have success, when you're winning games, when you're getting points and you're getting goals, assists, points, whatever, even hits sometimes with Trennan because you're a big, strong guy, then all of a sudden your ability to do some things on the ice certainly rises to the occasion. I think both those guys have done a good job, and I know some people didn't like Trennan in the beginning, and I said just give him some time here because I think you're going to see this guy, once he finds how good he can be and his size, he's a big body out there, and we're seeing that now, and I think the more physicality he has, the better he's going to be.
Without a doubt. This text says it's from Gary in Vietnam. I'll take his word for it. But Gary's question is, for a guy that's been around this game for so long, how do coaches decide which goaltender to go with on any given night?
Well, it isn't just the coach. I mean, all the coaching staff get together, and of course, Freddie Shabbat is the guy who really deals with the goaltenders all the time, game in and game out. And he has his opinion. They have to look at how each of the goaltenders have responded playing against the opposition that time, against certain players that time, and see. And then you put it together, and you mix it up, and you throw it out, and whatever one the dart lands on, that's the one you pick. So, but there's really I don't want to say scientific, but there's a lot of thought goes into who your goaltender is. And you have to look that you make sure you put them in a place where they're going to succeed, too. You don't want to put them in an area that it's going to be tough for them, because once you lose that control and you lose that ability to be able to win games, your confidence level dips, then you're in trouble.
Part of the thinking in making any of the decisions the coaching staff makes these days, and the management for that matter, is the use of analytics. I don't think they used much analytics in the 60s and 70s when you were a player. What do you think of the emergence of analytics and how it's really infiltrated its way across the world of sports, not just in the National Hockey League?
I was going to mention that. It's not just hockey. It's all over the place. But, I mean, there's certain things you can pick up from it, but it's still the game is played on the ice. And you hope that you have the right numbers and that they're in the position you want them to be. The analytics are going to help you. Certain players, and here's what you're doing in certain situations that will, I think, take it to heart for the players when they can actually see what's happening, when they have video and they have numbers in front of what's happening here. Then I think it's good for it. But you still have to play the game on the ice, and it changes every second.
Before we wrap up this edition of Tom Reid's Hotline, more sad news. We lost Willard Eichela within the last couple of weeks. Thursday night, we lose Dick Meredith, former Golden Gopher, another guy that represented Team USA on an international stage. Dick Meredith passed away at the age of 92, a name that I know you're very familiar with.
Yeah, I mentioned this also at the beginning of the third period when Joe and I were talking here, and a good friend certainly for the hockey world, and he certainly will be missed. But he was a competitor, played in the '56 Olympic team, and won the gold in 1960.
Crazy stuff. Rest in peace. Condolences to the Meredith family. I know they still dot the landscape all across the great state of hockey. Thomas, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is Tom Reid with Tom Reid's Hotline. Oh, someone's getting a pair of tickets to an upcoming Minnesota Wild game. You want to go? You can. Even if you don't get the text, you can still do so at wild.com/hockey tickets. Trust me, I'm not lying. The Wild lead the Islanders 4-3. They were down 3-1 at one point. Now they lead 4-3. We'll give you an update next. This is Wild Hockey presented by XL
Energy.
For
an extraordinary advantage in sports, you need a game plan. For an extraordinary advantage everywhere else, all you need is Acrisure. With a high-tech human approach to insurance, cybersecurity, and more, Acrisure helps you take care of what you care about. That makes winning easy. See what Acrisure's extraordinary advantage can do for you at Acrisure.com.